Hello everyone. So if you are preparing for the prelims examination this year, this video is for you. Now in this video, I want to talk to you about something that may not be at the top of your mind right now, but something that is very important and something that may come to haunt you in weeks after the prelims if you're not careful. That is silly mistakes. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Ketan. I've been part of many UPSC exam cycles now. From 2013 to 2016, I cleared 4 consecutive prelims. I was All India rank 860 in CSE 2015. And then in 2017, I appeared for the prelims and did not clear it because of some very silly mistakes. Now, since then, I have been mentoring aspirants, and year after year, I see many aspirants missing out on prelims because of some entirely avoidable errors. Now, this year too, and I guarantee it, many will make silly mistakes in their exam, and because of that, they will not clear prelims. Now, these small errors will come to haunt you in weeks after the exam. Now, I don't think it is completely possible to eliminate all silly mistakes, but just the awareness of where these mistakes are going to come from will make you more alert, and that will lead to fewer mistakes. And as you know, clearing prelims often comes down to very small margins, and just one less mistake can get you over the line. So, with this in mind, I will try to list the most common reasons for silly mistakes in the examination. Now, these are the reasons from my own experience and from the experience of many others. And I will also try to offer you some suggestions to minimize these mistakes. So, these are the 7 most common reasons for silly mistakes. Now, I've tried to list them from most common to least common. Number one is overthinking. Now, overthinking, in my opinion, is the most common reason for silly mistakes in prelims. Now, why? Because UPSC aspirants are very intelligent people. They are used to analyzing very deeply. They're used to use their brain. Now, these are not bad things, but you have to keep in mind that UPSC is a generalist exam. And most of the time, your first instinct is the correct answer. But what often happens is that you tend to overthink and you start second guessing yourself and you end up changing your answer. Now, on the basis on changing your answer on basis of some rare theoretical possibility, right? So whenever you're torn between two options, the first option is your first instinct, and the second option is something that you have arrived after over analyzing the question. I highly suggest to stick to your first instinct. Now, let's try to understand with an example, right? Now, this is a question that has been asked in the previous years. The question is, if a commodity is provided free to the public by the government, then A, the opportunity cost is zero. B, the opportunity cost is ignored. C, the opportunity cost is transferred from the consumers of the product to the tax-paying public. And D, the opportunity cost is transferred from the consumers of the product to the government. Now, your first instinct would be that clearly the opportunity cost is not zero. Someone has to bear the opportunity cost, and the tax-paying public is the entity that is going to bear this opportunity cost. So C looks right, but then you start to overthink, right? Now, what if the question is talking about some theoretical country which does not collect taxes at all? Now, in that case, it is the government that will bear the cost directly, and the answer must be D. So you switch your answer from C to D. But what is the official UPSC answer? It's C. And you have got it wrong just because you have overthought. So my advice is that please do not overthink. UPSC is not trying to trick you with some obscure exceptions. It is testing your broad understanding and your broad application, right? So in my experience and also from seeing the official UPSC answer keys over the decade, your first instinct is most often the correct answer, right? Now, this is not a guarantee, but it's a very strong observation, and I hope that you'll keep this in mind as you enter the exam hall. Second, the second most common reason for silly mistake is misreading the question or overlooking keywords. right? So you're in the exam hall, there is urgency in your air, and in that urgency, you misreading a keyword, right? It happens to a lot of people. It must have happened to you before. How many times you have marked the correct answers to a question and only to realize it later that the question was actually asking to for you to mark the incorrect answers, right? Or you miss a crucial detail that completely changes the meaning of the question, right? Let's take an example. So this has again been asked in previous years. The question is, consider the following properties included in the World Heritage List released by UNESCO. So one, Shantiniketan; second, Rani Ki Vav; third, sacred ensembles of the Hoysalas; fourth, Mahabodhi tree complex at Bodh Gaya. So how many of these properties were included in 2023? And you have four options. Now, you must have read about the World Heritage Sites, you have revised them, and in your enthusiasm of recognizing the familiar names, it may happen that you don't read the entire question carefully and you miss the key phrase included in 2023, right? And you confidently mark D, all four, because you think that all are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. But the correct answer is, of course, B. Only two of these sites were included in 2023, right? And just because you overlooked that key phrase, you got the answer wrong, even though you knew the answer. So my advice is that be calm in the exam hall, right? In the exam hall, you should be in a state of relaxed alertness. So you should be relaxed but alert at the same time. You should you should read each and every question carefully. You can even underline or circle the keywords, and these small changes, small details can make big difference. So don't let your urgency undo your years worth of effort. Just slow down a little, read with focus, and that can make a lot of difference. The third most common reason for silly mistake is second guessing or doubting your knowledge, right? Now, you have been studying for this exam for a year now, but even after that, I can guarantee that during the exam, you will encounter questions that contains names, terms, areas that you have never heard of, right? And in that moment, you may have the sinking feeling that maybe you have not prepared enough and there are major gaps in your preparation. Okay. Now, exam hall is not the place to second guess yourself or doubt your preparation. So you must always be confident about your preparation. It does not matter if you've encountered some questions which contains terms that you have never heard of, right? So let's take this previous year question. The question is, consider the following statement regarding the World Toilet Organization. One, it is one of the agencies of United Nations. Second, World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Day, World Toilet College are initiatives of this organization to inspire action to tackle the global sanitation crisis. And third is the main focus of its function is to grant funds to the least developed and developing countries to help end open defecation. And then you have four state options and you have to mark the correct. When you read this question in the exam hall, many of you may have not never heard of the World Toilet Organization, right? Because it is not a hugely popular organization. And you may start doubting your knowledge. You may think that maybe there are gaps in your preparation, right? But you have read about the agencies of United Nations. Okay, so now you have two options. First, you trust your knowledge and you think that, okay, I know the agencies of United Nations and I have never heard of World Toilet Organization, so it must not be a part of United Nations. Or you second guess yourself. You may think that maybe I missed something in my preparation and maybe it is a UN agency. But guess what? It is not a UN agency. And if you trust your preparation, you would get this right? So here my advice is that you should always trust your preparation. If you have if you have not heard of something, there are very high chances that it is not correct. Okay, you have spent months and months building your knowledge, So don't let self-doubt creep in during the final moments. Always stay confident. The fourth most common reason for silly mistake is time scramble or lack of concentration or panic. Okay. So many aspirants will make silly mistakes in the final moments of the exam because of time pressure, right? In the time pressure, you may know the answer, you may derive at the correct answer, but you may fill the wrong bubble. Okay. Or you will lose concentration. You read something else and your mind interprets something else. So what to do in this situation? So the only real situation to avoid this is to avoid putting yourself in such situations through good time management. So ideally, you should aim to cover the entire paper 3 times. In the first round, you can attempt all the sure shot known questions. Then in the second round, you can go for the questions in which you have been able to eliminate a few options. And there you can take some calculated risks. And then in the third round, you can go for questions where you have some vague ideas, some hunch about the correct answer. Now, if your number of attempts are too low by this time, here also you can take a few well calculated risks. So manage your time very well. And if you manage your time well, it is going to increase your overall accuracy. Okay. Now, also, this is very important that I strongly recommend to fill the bubble in batches. Okay. So don't go solve one questions and fill one bubble, or leave all the bubbles to be filled at the very end of the exam. You can, finish one page, which generally have 4 to 5 questions, and then fill bubbles for those questions. Now, this reduces the chance of marking answers in the wrong rows. Okay. Now, another important thing I want to say is that if by chance you mistakenly fill the wrong bubble, do not panic. Just accept that loss and move on. You should at no point of time try to tamper with your OMR sheet, be it with a whitener or a blade or your nails. You don't have to scratch off whatever has already been filled. It is just not worth the risk. You may risk even canceling your candidature. The fifth most common reason is overconfidence or overexcitement, right? So some candidates may feel that they are very well prepared and clearing prelims will be a breeze. Now, in my experience, this is most common among first-time candidates, right? Now, this overconfidence can play tricks with your mind, and you may, this may lead to some very avoidable mistakes. So my advice is that, okay, be confident, but also stay humble. Now, this exam has humbled even the very best. So respect this exam and treat this exam with the respect that it deserves. Sixth is being absent-minded. Sometimes it happens. It can happen to anyone. Your mind starts to wander. You become absent-minded. You start thinking about something in your personal life or some unrelated issue. And in that state of mind, you will often end up misreading or misinterpreting a familiar question. Now, my advice to this is that you have to maintain a state of relaxed alertness. You should always stay hydrated. You can take a sip of water if needed. Now, in the exam hall, all the focus should be on the question paper. Everything else can wait. At that moment, the exam and the question paper in front of you is all that matters. And the seventh point is luck, right? Now, I won't deny it. Like everything else in life, luck also plays a role in UPSC. Now, all your preparation to this point is geared towards minimizing the role of luck. You don't want to depend on luck, but on some days, you're just unlucky. And in that case, my advice is don't worry about it. Don't worry about things that you cannot control. Focus on things that you can, right? Give your best, and everything else will fall in place. So those were the most common reasons for silly mistakes, and hopefully you'll take care of it, and that will lead to fewer mistakes in your examination. Now, I'll leave you with some final words, and I hope this has served as a timely reminder and has helped you in some way. In these final days, please take good care of your health, get enough rest, and avoid any kind of stress. So, on the exam day, as I have already said, that your goal should be to achieve a state of relaxed alertness, and a sound body will help you maintain a sound mind. Thank you very much, and all the best.